bossy. They live ourselves with the Jonesy. Get you now. Just keep talking. Get you now. You can tell me nothing. Every day, I take all my blessing Monday to Sunday. Papa Golo Shea.
Hi, I go by the name ANG Mudah. This is an episode of Angry with ANG Mudah. This is a post-game reaction between Chelsea versus PSG FIFA Club World Cup. Right here with me, I have Saheed Omoh. He's a freelance journalist. He has worked with Channels TV, Rave TV, Top Radio, Radio Nigeria, Paramount FM. Saheed Omoh, how are you doing today?
Shara, thank you so much for having me on your show today.
First, let me start with this. What do you think about this tournament overall? FIFA Club World Cup. They concluded tournament.
Overall, for me, I think this is a wonderful tournament. I believe this is a wonderful initiative by FIFA and even FIFA president when he brought about this initiative in 2016, whereby they expanded the FIFA World Cup. Before, where we would have just the intercontinental champions participating in the tournament.
Yeah.
But now we have several teams participating in the tournament. Example, 12 teams from Europe. So I think this is really good. This is a good advertisement for soccer, even here in the US, with the US hosting the first FIFA Club World Cup. And I think we saw good football, so to speak, and soccer in this tournament. And looking at PSG, I think majority of the people thought PSG would win, but unfortunately, Chelsea had other ideas for them.
What's your take in this game between Chelsea and PSG? Because you just touched on that now. What's your take? Were you expecting Chelsea to turn up this way? And being that this is the second defeat for PSG in this tournament, and they only conceded one goal throughout the tournament, were you expecting this kind of result for this game?
Honestly, I wasn't expecting this type of result at all.
Mm-hmm.
Looking at what PSG they've been able to do throughout this season with how they won the Champions League with the teams they played, they've really shown us that, yes, they are a very cohesive team. They can play together. They have wonderful full backs in Hakimi and even Mendes. These guys are able to track forward, and it makes it very difficult for teams to defend against them.
Yeah.
So looking at everything they've been able to do, even how they were able to defeat Bayern Munich, they had 2 red cards in that game,
yeah,
and they still won, and even how they defeated Real Madrid. So coming into this final, I thought they will be able to defeat Chelsea. Well, we all know football, it doesn't really go like that. Football is not mathematics.
Yeah.
But I would say kudos to the Chelsea team versus PSG not turning up, because if I say PSG did not turn up today, that means I'm taking the kudos away from the Chelsea team. Okay. I think the Chelsea team, they really showed up well. Mm-hmm. I would even give kudos to Enzo Maresca, the coach, where he really studied the PSG team, and then he was able to really rally his troops to make sure that they show up well against PSG. Within the first 20 minutes in the game, you would know they have an idea. So basically what they did is they beat PSG to their own game. If you look at PSG's previous matches, what they do is they kind of come at you within the first 20 minutes. They try to get a goal before the first half ends, and they were unable to do that today, which Chelsea was able to really capitalize on.
So you're leaning more towards PSG, you're leaning more towards Chelsea actually have a master game plan against PSG than PSG not turning up. That's
Absolutely.
What you're leaning more towards.
Absolutely.
Do you feel that means by no chance you don't feel like PSG players were like tired for this game?
You know why I wouldn't want to say PSG players were? Of course, they are humans, they are players. They've played. The season started last year, August. They played several matches. Mm-hmm. Yes, probably they were tired, but I wouldn't want to take away that credits away from Chelsea, because Chelsea also, they've played matches throughout the season. They've had their ups and downs throughout the season as well, mm-hmm. right? Because even in the EPL, they didn't really perform so much this season, EPL, and looking at that, you wouldn't want to take away that credit from a Chelsea team that came to this FIFA World Cup. We all thought that, okay, Chelsea as usual, they probably will get knocked out in the quarterfinal of the game, but I think one thing that worked for them today is they have really, or they were able to really study the PSG team. If you looked at that team today, some of the goals that they scored, it actually came from Mendes' position, and that's why you would have to give Chelsea, the Crudos, and even their coach, because they were able to study the PSG team. They realized the fact that we have to be able to go all out with this PSG team. If we don't go all out with them, if we just sit down and contain the pressure, it will be very difficult for us to play against them.
That's a good take. That's a good take. But another thing that I wanted to say in regards to this tournament is that most tournament that we've seen, example, Champions League, Europa, Conference League, whichever tournament that they play in Europe, you have to have eligible player for you to play this tournament, right? This tournament is a different ball game because there is no eligibility of players. So that gives upper hands to play for teams that bought players during this transfer window to be able to fit in those players in games. Whereas there are some teams that are not able to like do their transfer yet and they can bring in new player. Do you think is an advantage to some teams compared to others, or it doesn't matter?
I wouldn't say it doesn't matter. It might be an advantage to some teams, especially a team like Chelsea, where they were able to bring in certain players.
Yeah, like the striker.
Right, and he was able to
score.
Pedro.
Yeah, Pedro.
And he was able to score, right?
Mm-hmm.
The thing is, if we had to look at it from a process perspective, because of the timing of the tournament, now we have the transfer window opened where teams are able to buy players and bring in players. Definitely. And because of the fact that oftentimes players' contract would expire June 30th, and FIFA wants a situation whereby when we have a tournament like the FIFA Club World Cup and a player's contract has expired, FIFA wants a situation whereby the club is still able to bring players and then they are able to play inside during the duration of the tournament. But the question that would be, is that fair to other teams? I wouldn't say it's fair, because if we look at, although we can't compare club football to national team football, for example, if we have a FIFA World Cup or a CAF champion, a CAF African tournament, we would have a situation whereby before the tournaments begin, now each national federation, they will submit the list of players that will play in that tournament.
Yes.
Now you would not have any other players that will be able to play as soon as the tournaments kick off. So it all depends on which side of the divide you are on. Yes, it might be an advantage to certain teams, but overall, I wouldn't say it's a bad idea, so to speak.
Okay. Another thing about this competition is that people complain about the weather condition, and we have to understand that this is the same country that's going to host the the FIFA World Cup. What's your take in regards to that? Do you think the weather really matters when it comes to football? Because people can also make an argument that we play in Europe sometimes and it's cold, and we're not used to cold weather. And we all in our home region is more raining there, and it does like you understand me. Different region have different weather. Does that really count? Does it serve as an advantage to some teams or not?
I would say it does serve as an advantage to some team. This brings me back to a certain FIFA World Cup qualifier game between Argentina and Bolivia. The Argentine team, they went to Bolivia and they got really, really beaten, 6-0, just because of the weather condition at that time in Bolivia, because it was so very hot in Bolivia. So I believe it would be of advantage to certain teams that are used to playing in hot weather. For example, for European competitions where it's oftentimes very cold during winter, they are able to wear as many gears as possible. That's where you see them, having their under vest while they are playing soccer. But however, there's no way you'll be able to control the heat. So the only thing they can do is to take that water break, which I feel like it takes away the fun in the football and the tempo of the game. Yes. So I would say for the US hosting the FIFA World Cup, even though Mexico and Canada will be hosting that too, because of the timing, it will be good for us to have a completely closed, not open roof stadium, a completely closed roof stadium. Looks like FIFA is leaning towards that now, where we have a closed roof stadium. Now with that, we'll be able to have AC in the stadium, where maybe that would reduce the cooling break, and players will be able to, it might feel natural for players that are used to playing in cold weather, where we have a closed roof stadium with AC.
Okay, that's it. I understand that. I just feel like it's it's not balanced when we have to lean towards weather condition when it comes to some region. Personally, I feel like it's not balanced because let's say we play in the next World Cup. We play in the next World Cup in Portugal, and players from countries from North America, let's say US, Mexico, are complaining that okay, we're not used to this weather. Are FIFA willing to do the same thing moving forward for countries from a different continent to make it a playing field for them too? Do you think it's something FIFA will be willing to do for them, or this is only being biased because they know, or they have an idea that okay, most European teams, they are more competitive and they have more chances of winning it compared to any other region? Do you feel it is that way? Like okay, it's more advantageous to Europeans, and we want to make it to be more advantageous to them because we feel like they have more players or more chances of winning this competition. So we lean towards making the weather favorable for them too. So when the table turns on the other side, are they willing to do it for regions like US, Mexico, or regions in Africa where they are like really really hot?
Right. That's a good one, Mudah. If I look at that, if I go back to Gianni Infantino, the FIFA president's manifesto before he became the FIFA president, I was opportune to meet him in Rwanda when he was campaigning for that presidency in 2016. And one of his manifesto is to ensure consistency across board in FIFA tournaments. And he has shown that, yes, he has that foresight. Not to say his predecessors didn't have that foresight, but I think there will still be some flexibility for FIFA. An example will be the last World Cup in Qatar. FIFA was able to move that World Cup to what, because we know the terrain in the Middle East where it's always very hot. FIFA was able to move that tournament from summer to winter. Hence, we had that tournament around December. And to your point, in Mudah, of let's say Portugal was to host a tournament, I still feel like we having the World Cup around summer, that's a universal weather for places like Europe, for even places like South America, because we've had South American teams host World Cup, so to speak.
Yeah.
However, for some reason, even US too has hosted the World Cup in USA 1994.
94.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Just for some reason, this particular World Cup happened to be this particular FIFA World Cup just happened to be so very hot for certain teams that it was just so very difficult to cope with.
To play under. No, lastly on this topic, the champions of the FIFA Club World Cup is Chelsea. So moving forward, should we expect Chelsea to be a main contender in English Premiership, considering that the last season was like really off it? They were able to come back towards the end of the season to show some glimpse of okay, we still have quality player that can deliver. So by winning this, should we expect more from them in the Premiership next season?
I would think so. We should expect more from them. When Maresca was hired, I was looking at his credential. His credential doesn't really speak volume of a coach like Pep Guardiola, the likes of Mourinho. But what he has been able, when he joined Chelsea, Chelsea this season, we all know that they didn't perform at all. Certain times, like for example, Cole Palmer started very well. He was scoring goals. Then all of a sudden, he went goal drought.
Yeah, he dropped in form.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Then coming into this tournament, they've been able to show us that they can gel as a team. Now, the question now would be, we have a striker like Nicholas Jackson. Yeah. Now we have Pedro. Pedro came into this tournament with just how many matches he's been able to show that, yes, I can fit into this Chelsea team.
And I can score goals.
And I can score goals too. So moving forward, I think going into the Premier League season, we have wonderful teams. We have Liverpool there. Man City also, they will want to pick themselves up and say, yes, we can show that we are still the champions. We still have Arsenal there. Arsenal still has a say at that. But the thing is, I believe if Chelsea can capitalize on this momentum, how they play today, I would definitely see them as a contender for EPL.
Okay. I don't see them because I don't like Chelsea. I don't even lie. I don't see them. But spending like over 400 million, I expect them to at least show up.
Yes.
Which I'm not going to lie. This competition, they showed up and they shows that their star player can step up when it matters the most. And in finals like this, that's when you need your players to step up. In as much as I'm not a Chelsea fan, you can't deny the kind of game Cole Palmer played today, the goals he scored today, the striker having the lap on the bench. Nicola Jackson is not really my top striker, but at the same time, he's still an option on the bench, and having options in different positions of the field. So looking forward to next season. I don't think they're going to turn up like that, but hey, it's football. They might prove me wrong.
Absolutely.
But thank you so much for coming today. Again, I go by the name ANG Mudah. Have here with me Saheed, Omoh. Catch you next time in the next episode in Mudah. Shara.